Dave, Justin. Top row. Mr. Hawk. It's autofocus.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention, please. Tonight here we together want to recognize our seniors for their efforts, their determination, their participation here in the program over the years here at Wheaton Academy. Our program here is growing. We're trying to build something here in these seniors. We have 6 of them here tonight. They've been an integral part of what we're trying to do here with the Warrior Wrestling program. Just 2 years ago, we had 6, maybe 7 wrestlers in the program. This year, we started out but all of that is at the top of his list. His favorite wrestling memory is winning our first tri-meet of the year and then going off for ice cream after. What wrestler doesn't love getting ice cream after having to cut weight for the first match? Giovanni Martinez. Next up we have Wilson Dagfall, escorted by his parents, Dan and Beth Dagfall. He's been a part of the wrestling program for 1 year. Next year he's planning to go to Steve University, where he would like to major in business. His favorite wrestling memory is competing in the Plano Reaper tournament. You must truly love it because not many people would be excited about competing in the grueling varsity tournament as a first-year wrestler. Wilson Dagfall. Next up we have Sean Boone. He's escorted by Kelly Boone. He's been part of the wrestling program for 2 years. He's still deciding where he will attend school next year. His final choices are Iowa State, Olivet, or Wheaton College. He'd like to major in engineering, and his favorite wrestling memory is supposedly beating Coach Mikey Swire. The place that could have happened though would be his dreams. Sean Boone. Wall. He's escorted by his parents, Doug and Leah Wall. He's been part of the wrestling program for 2 years. Next year, he'll be attending Wheaton College, where he would like to major in psychology. His favorite memory from wrestling would be winning his first varsity match last year as a first-year wrestler. Little did he know that first win would later turn into a sectional qualifying spot. Graham Wall. Last but not least, we have Connor Scanlon. He's escorted by his mom, Jen, and his stepdad, Roy. He's the old senior this year and has wrestled all 4 years here at Wheaton Academy. Next year, he'd like to go to the United States Military Academy or Texas A&M and be part of the ROTC program. After college, he wants to serve our country in the armed forces. His favorite memory from wrestling He'll be with former coach Craig Doherty, had to do 1,000 shots to work on his technique. According to Connor, he almost passed out from exhaustion. We'll have to ask Coach about that though. Connor Stanley. The next thing I would like to do before we begin our wrestling tonight is I wanted to thank a few people here for something that happened this off-season here in the program. Last year, and since I've been here, we've had one wrestling man that stayed down in our wrestling room. As far as I know, it's been there for the last, 15, 20 years. All right, and so I know the boys, they worked hard and they wanted something to call their own and kind of make this program special. So I told them I was going to try to get them some feeder mats and make it look sweet. And so first I wanted to start off and thank the Booster Club here at Wheaton Academy for getting the ball rolling. We were able to get 2 sets of mats tonight. We were with the white circle with the maroon outline. Our second home match of the year, we used our maroon circle with the white outline. So we've got 2 brand new sets of mats here at the Academy. So with those mats and with what we still have, we're now able to host a tournament in the near future if we so choose. But these are state-of-the-art mats, nice and lightweight, so a lot easier to set up and tear down. I know the boys really appreciate that. But the Booster Club got us started with almost half the amount of money donated by them, and without them, we wouldn't be able to be where we are. So I want to publicly thank them. And then we still needed about halfway to go. And I made a few calls, and we had a significant amount of people generously donate to the program to make this happen. And at first, I wasn't sure if we were going to get 1 or 2 mats, but we got the 1, and then the money was still coming in. And so I said, let's try to get a second one. And the Lord was gracious, and He worked through some people that are friends of the Academy, and we were able to raise enough to get a second mat. Like I said, we were able to use it on our second home meet. So I probably wanted to thank them as well. And then we had a little bit left over, and so I said, let's take this up 1 more notch. And we got a little bit after that, so I get a little bit more money, and you will see it later on here in a few minutes after we get started. And we were able to put in some spotlights you can see up here. So once we are finished with talking here, the lights are going to cut out. We got a little intro video. Microphone's up. And then lights are going to cut out, and the spotlights are going to go on. I'm going to wrestle out over here, underneath on the mat, underneath our spotlights. So again, I just wanted to thank everybody that contributed. Without you guys, it's not possible, and the program would not be where it is without you and your generous support of the program at Wheaton Academy. So we give 1 more round of applause to everybody. That'd be great. All right, so our next match is between Wheaton Academy and St. Joe's, and then after that it'll be St. Francis against your Warriors to finish out the night. All right, here we go. Warrior down low.
legs. Fine right to the left. Haircut being paid. Why God keep blessing? He'll never take an L. So why I keep stressing? W's on swole. Okay, God keep flexing. Number 2, out of time.
All right, thank you for tuning in tonight. This is Matt Hockett joining me tonight. Jim Johannick. Bringing you our second live stream wrestling meet tonight. Warriors are going to take on St. Joe's first, followed by St. Francis. As you might have seen in the broadcast, Warriors have a senior night tonight. I'll bring you those names here for a second. Those seniors, some of them contributing for quite some time and others in their first year. Any names there that are going to be missed sorely tonight, Jim?
Yeah, from a senior perspective, we're all here. Got some injuries throughout our, throughout the entire lineup. We got Alex Ventimilla, who is still out. We have the Karstens brothers, both of them, 145, 152, who are out with various issues. So I think we're going to do all right against St. Joe, despite the injuries. But it will left to be seen how we handle St. Francis afterwards.
So St. Joe's. Looks like we're messing with some lights right now, but St. Joe's lost to St. Francis in this first round, and they lost basically because they had a smaller team.
That's what it comes down to. We wrestle some of these 1A schools. Now, you know what's interesting about the scheduling this year is the schedule was out weeks ahead of, or I should say months ahead of where we actually settled with our classification. So we went from being a 1A school to a 2A wrestling school as a function of having 7 individuals over our enrollment numbers at the break-off. And so we didn't know that going into the season, and so what you're seeing is a schedule filled with 1A opponents, despite the fact that we're a 2A school now. So here we have Noah Kovic, and solid wrestler in his second year of wrestling for the Warriors. He was a sectional qualifier last year. Noah's a sound, fundamental wrestler, still on the relatively inexperienced side, but he is progressing nicely.
Warriors are coming fresh off of conference last weekend, right?
Yeah, we had a busy last week. We had conference a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And then on Friday, we had the Midnight Rumble up at Rockford Lutheran. Given how long that tournament goes, some people call it the Midnight Grumbler instead of the Midnight Rumbler. But we had a lot of wrestlers place in that event. We had a very good showing despite our injuries. So the Rockford tournament turned out to be one which I believe we saw 6 of our 14 wrestlers place in the categories.
Are these new numbers for Wheaton Academy? I think I heard Coach Swider say 29 came out at the start of the season.
Yeah, you go back 2 years and we had 6 wrestlers. And then the beginning of this season, you have 29. And here you see Noah with an easy pin against his opponent. St. Joe's, no mincing words, it's just not a very strong, wrestling program. So we should be able to fare pretty well against them. There's going to be a lot of forfeits. We also, I believe, we're down at the 113 weight class. We're down at 145. We're down at 152. So.
132
and that's mostly just because of injury.
Yeah, we can fill. Unlike years in the past, we fill pretty much every weight class now with anyone who's either a freshman through a senior.
Yeah.
But we were still at the height without the injuries. We're still short 2 weight classes, which gave us we fared pretty well against some of the better teams. We started off the season. It was off the season against Genoa Kingston, and we won. And you have a very established program that's been wrestling for at the 1A level for quite a long time, and to come out there to their place beginning of the season and beat them at home was a very, very promising start to the season. Here you have Jeff Ridge. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. I mean, if you can start wrestling your senior year and look as good as this, it's a testimony to how good of an athlete this kid is. Good athleticism. He's 4-year cross-country runner.
Yes.
Strong endurance, just a fighter. He just refuses to give up. And incredible as to how well he's learned so quickly, how much he's learned so quickly.
And most of that learning is taking place just through practice.
It is.
But I feel like Jeff and probably some of these other new rookies, I guess, are putting in extra time. We have a long break. We're just getting back from Winterim.
There's the inexperience.
Yeah.
And Jeff got caught in that position at the Rockford tournament as well. Yeah. So he went upper body with him, and he just couldn't pull it off. There's a lot of woulda, coulda, shouldas in wrestling, and this is a match where Jeff should have wrestled below the waist.
Yeah.
Should have attacked the legs, stay away from the upper body. You know, the upper body tends to be the great neutralizer, and usually what you'll see is in a close match, or if you're down significantly, a wrestler will attempt to do desperation moves in the upper body position. And you generally want to say, when you know you can beat your opponent, you want to stay away from the upper body unless you're good at that wrestling style. So here we have Tavis King coming up.
Tavis King versus Solomon Clark.
He's filling in at the 152 weight class.
Yep.
Tavis is a freshman, very good first-year wrestler. Showed some promise. I believe he made it to the semifinals of the consolation bracket in the Rockford Lutheran tournament. He was one. In fact, he did. He made it into the third and the fourth place match. Ended up in fourth place. But here, wow, very strong start. Takes him down in a sound fundamental. Double leg. Quick half. Has his opponent on the back. It's just a matter of time. Tough to hold off. Getting pinned for 1 minute and 32. And I don't care how you cut it. If you're a freshman and you're doing that,
yeah,
you got some promise.
And did you say you think he played up in his weight class, or is that his normal weight class?
Yeah,
Here's his initial takedown there.
He started off at 145. But Christopher Karstens was there at 145. He moved up to 152. And as you know, as I mentioned earlier, Christopher's injured.
Yep. Yeah, he came into my media art class with an elbow.
That's right.
Issue. So I saw him without his sling, so it's getting better. But
it took a nasty spill at Ileana Christian.
There's one of our seniors, Gio Martinez. That's a little testament to the leadership on this team, but so many of these guys are great students, good Americans. We're talking about Connor, getting ready to serve in our country's military if he can. And I think that's top down, and we have a lot of sports issues in the news recently, and a lot of that comes from either leadership above the coaches or the coaches themselves or the leadership on the team, and I think this whole wrestling team's got some quality examples.
We know in this day and age, a lot of our behaviors are But boy, you're going to see a dogfight here. And Connor, if I were him and telling him what to do, he's got to stay away from the upper body, even though he could probably take it. This kid is strong. He's gonna challenge him. Connor's got the advantage on a 4-2. What we saw right there was a takedown and 2 reversals. And it was just a muscle fest.
A lot of points
It
quickly.
was just a muscle fest. Yeah,
I saw him get off his knees and stand up and just smile right towards us.
Absolutely incredible. You know, with a strong upper body wrestler that he's facing here, Connor is the St. Joe kid. When you're in the top position, you got to worry about getting rolled and letting the momentum. I mean, if he's that strong, he's going to try to find an opportunity where Connor's off balance and try to roll him. In the situation right there when he brings him back down the mat, Connor's got to be up. These are the types of matches where you can be up 10-2, and the match is never over because there's always that potential for something to happen. So
when he escaped there, Connor just gave up that point?
He did. Connor's basically saying that the strategy is better for him in the neutral position. Connor's very comfortable on his feet.
Yeah.
Again, I would advise that he doesn't go upper body, but, you know, Connor. And Matt, you talked about coaches, and I believe a lot of the attitude and the heart of these athletes and what they do off the mat, off the field, is a good reflection of their coaches. And we are blessed here at the Academy of having excellent, excellent coaches. Teach more than just the sport. They transcends the sport. They go into life. Because, listen, you know, we're not going to be wrestling for the rest of our life. We're not going to be on the field or on the court for the rest of our lives. But what we can do is take these lessons beyond. That's what these coaches do.
Yep. And if you're listening and you're wondering who these two coaches are, then we have Justin and Mikey Swider are the coaches here on the wrestling team. They're sons of Mike Swider, who's kind of sitting right in front of us, who's the coach for the Wheaton College football team.
He's become the voice of Warrior Wrestling here at home. So here we are, second period. We have Connor in the down position. He's got to get up, get a strong upper body wrestler like he's up against, and it's always a question mark whether he can make that escape. Connor is going to be strong from the neutral position, and that's what he's working to try to do. There he is, and he got his escape, and he threw him. All right, so he gets 1 point and an escape. Ref is going to put him in the neutral position. Did not establish a takedown.
He's talking about his.
Looks like he's got a nosebleed. So if anybody's not familiar with the rules, in injury time, there's two types of injury. There's a standard traditional injury time due to muscle, arm, cramp, etc. And then there's blood time.
Okay.
And blood time is treated differently. I believe you get 5 minutes of total blood time, so you can be bleeding all over the place and be plugging it up, and you'll be fine. You got a total of 5 minutes off the mat that you can take care of any blood. After that, you're medically disqualified from the match.
If you start up again and then you have to have another blood timeout, is that a disqualification as well?
No, you can have multiple instances, but the cumulative amount of time can be no more than 5 minutes on the clock. So they're running it. We're about at 45 seconds. Gives you an idea of how much time you spend on these matters. For you viewers, there's a nice graphic view of what it looks like to take care of a nosebleed in wrestling.
Maybe we should give you an outside perspective for a second. Take a look at that one for me.
There you go.
Good crowd tonight.
It is.
And for our 3 home matches, I've seen some really great crowds. Come back here. As you can see on our scoreboard, Connor's up 5-3 right now, but like Jim said, it could be 10-3, and you got to watch out this whole time.
Wrestling's such a long season; it's very grueling. And Connor, senior, is seasoned. There you go. Once again, we're experiencing that upper body rolling. He got a handle on it. He's going to take his 2 points, and he's got another blood issue. So.
Oh man.
All right. So the referee awarded Connor 2 points on the takedown. Connor also exposed his opponent's back to the mat for more than 2 seconds, so he gets another 2 points.
Probably not the job I want as a trainer, plugging
up noses.
Plugging a nose.
Yeah. It is part of the sport. It's a winter sport. It's very dry. A lot of intensity. Nobody fully understands, people who haven't wrestled fully understands how difficult it is to go 6 minutes continuous wrestling. It is a full body sport. Every muscle in your body is used. It's exhausting. You're under a tremendous amount of stress, and nosebleeds are not uncommon.
So we're getting close to the end of the season.
We are.
While we're waiting for this, we have sectionals, what, in a week?
Saturday.
Yeah.
We have regionals. Regionals at Fenwick.
So those seeds are already out, or no?
No, not yet. They'll have a seeding meeting on Friday.
Okay, that early. Okay. Yeah, with tennis, I know we seeded everything almost 2 days before, I guess. Yeah. So these meets matter.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to play out now. St. Francis is in our regional, so while St. Joseph, this match doesn't mean a whole lot except from an overall record standpoint. The next match with St. Francis is going to have a lot of bearing on seeding for a lot of our wrestlers going into regionals.
And is there we were talking about this before, but is there an advantage to wrestling before this and then playing St. Francis, or are we going to? Connor has been going hard here.
He has.
He's going to need a 45-minute break before he gets on again.
Yeah, we're 20 seconds left in the second period, and Connor's got an 11-3 lead again. You know, at this point, you've got to think cautiously. He's got a wrestler who can put Connor on his back. You've got to be cognizant of that, and Connor just needs to wrestle smart.
Let's go, Connor.
10 seconds left here in this second quarter.
So starting the blood clock again. Yeah, you know, it's an interesting scheduling scenario where we have such a prominent match right before we head into regionals and against a team who we haven't faced before, who we will face in regionals. It's actually good that you do want to wrestle. You want to have a pretty good understanding of who you're going into, who you're wrestling when you go into a regional competition. So it's good that we're wrestling St. Francis. I guess if I had my choice, I would have rather have done it 2 weeks ago as opposed to just a few days.
Yeah, I was cheering against the Patriots the other day as they played the Jaguars. And I like the Jaguars because they're a underdog, you know, in the game. Anybody really is against the Patriots. But then the Jags got a lead and they eased up.
Yeah.
And in sports, it doesn't feel like it's ever a good idea to ease up. And even during the week of regionals, this is a good match, like you said. You don't want to have an easy week. You got to stay on your game the whole time, get that edge.
Well, we had a tough tournament over the weekend up in Rockford Lutheran. We have a tough duel here with St. Francis coming up after this match with St. Joseph. So we'll, you know, the goal is to stay healthy. It's a long season. Connor's feeling that. He has an especially tough bracket at regionals. He had a tough bracket at sectionals. Seems like wherever we go, whatever tournament we're in, he's been bearing the brunt of having some really quality tough wrestlers. So here you see Connor doing, he's most comfortable in the neutral position. He just, what you've seen in this match is Connor's taking this guy down both in the upper body position as well as shooting doubles and taking shots below the waist.
I thought I heard say let him go.
Yeah, that was one of his coaches. And knowing that Connor is strong in the neutral position, this is Connor's strength right here, is in the neutral position. He gets in, he has the propensity to get in trouble riding his opponent, being in the top position. And you just don't want to get stuck in a roll. Connor took a shot. The St. Joe guy countered with a whizzer, and then this is what I was talking about. And
oh man,
yeah, this is exactly what I was worried about.
You can tell he's fighting this off here. He's got 40 seconds left.
And he did it.
And he rolled over.
So what ended up happening, Connor's shot, he was in a good position. The opponent put in what's called a whizzer, which is really just an arm on top of his arm. Connor tried to throw him and fell flat on his back. Now it's a 13-10 match. 19 seconds, Connor's in control. Connor has a reversal. He's got up 5 points. If he could just hold it right here, I think I would just advise him to stall. Don't do anything. Take your win. Sometimes I wish I wasn't so prophetic.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, let's see if we can. I don't know if we have the replay of that takedown.
So that's the Wizard. He's got the arm over Connor. Connor tried to throw, got under positioned, and as a result, the guy went very easy opportunity to hop right on top. So here we have Noah Jones coming up, and Noah is a first-year wrestler.
Noah Jones versus Zach Ford.
Junior, never wrestled before, just a strong athlete. What you're going to see is a lot of athleticism come out of Noah, not a lot of technique. He's still learning. These are fun matches to watch because anything can happen.
Yeah. I remember watching Noah this last time.
So Noah did the right thing. He cross-faced, tried to throw the guy to the back. Guy rolled him. And then Noah's athleticism got right up out of that. Just made a really easy escape. 2-1. 4-1, sorry. No, it is 2-1, 2-1. Yep.
All these guys are really just driving that weight on their hips, right?
Chest to chest.
Yeah.
And good wrestlers will be off of their knees. They'll put the entirety of their weight. There you go. I mean, that's just, there's Noah's on his back in a headlock, right?
Yeah.
And you have a situation where he turned over. I mean, just sheer strength. There we go, another escape. I mean,
it goes right at him.
This is just crazy. So now we're going to have an injury time.
Oh, boy.
So they awarded Noah 2 points for the takedown, 3 points for a near fall, and now we have an injury as opposed to before when we were with Connor, we had a blood timeout. Here you have a legitimate injury timeout. Now he's got 2 minutes to recover. If he doesn't, then it's a medical disqualification.
And that injury is just by sight, the official notices that the guy's in pain?
Yeah, I observed something that we didn't.
Yeah.
Guy yelped out, and the referee awarded Noah the 3 points for the near fall. Like we got about 30 seconds left in this injury timeout before they have to make a decision. It's like he's going to continue.
Okay, so Noah gets to determine this position?
Nope, he took his guy down. So St. Joe wrestler is in the down position. Noah's in the top position. You got just under 50 seconds left in this match. And, you know, it's unfortunate Noah had his guy pinned, and he really wanted to get out of this match because his inexperience is going to potentially lead him into a situation or a position where he can't get out of. But these are also the wrestling matches that you learn from. So it's a simple roll, and Noah's caught in a difficult position here. And the reversal is in force. So St. Joe gets two on the reversal. Noah, an easy escape. Still the first period. We have an 11-8 score. Yeah, I think he's done.
Yeah. He landed on something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could tell in his face. Let's see if we can get that replay of this. Because it looked like he lifted him up.
He did. He did, and he just rolled over.
He rolls over. Yep.
I think he landed on his shoulder again. It's a good win for Noah.
And Noah was in what weight class?
That was 182.
182. Coming up, Derek Johannick. Always a bounce in his step. He's got a pattern to his beginning.
He does. He's got a routine. Derek's been working a lot more on the neutral position.
Is that Derek's goal to get a hand behind the head there?
Yeah, a lot of head pressure. He sets up his moves by pulling down on the head, finding a snap. Guys, tried throwing Derek. You're not going to throw Derek really easily.
Walking around his head.
And that's about it for that.
Maybe in a similar weight class, but Derek has a little extra muscle in that situation. And technique, of course.
Derek's got his next match. It's going to be the tough one against the St. Francis kid. He's going up against a two-time state qualifier, and Derek is fighting to get into that state qualification.
The two of them have not met before?
No, they've wrestled
common opponents.
Wrestled common opponents, and Derek's opponent's gotten the best of that common opponent.
So you're going to see a few of our wrestlers coming out here. That does it.
That does it. So we are 51-12. It's kind of what we expected against a kind of a weak St. Joseph wrestling team. Hats off to the team. I mean, you know, it's hard to build a program up, and like to see these programs continue.
Yeah. Well, I think St. Joe's is still living in the glory of Isaiah Thomas, right?
Yeah.
And you know the guys going to that school wanting to play basketball first. Oh, we'll give ourselves a break. We'll rejoin you guys after, I will assume, St. Francis gets to warm up just a little bit. It won't be long. I'll come back in a second.
We have a wrestle-off right now for the Warriors for participation in the regional tournament between Sean Bloom and Graham Wall. The winner of this will represent the Warriors in the regional tournament this weekend.
For those of you that heard that over the loudspeaker, this is Sean Bloom and Graham Wall. Both of these guys, football players. The Warriors are playing against each other. But this is to dictate who's going to be playing in regionals this weekend. So the winner gets to go and play in state. These two, both in the heavyweight. So they have to make a decision on one of these two, and so they're going to play this out right here instead of during a practice, which I think is a cool thing.
Two warriors, yeah, locking horns. We witnessed Sean at the Rockford Lutheran tournament, took second place and should have won the whole thing. He had an outstanding tournament. Like what you saw with Connor before, Sean got locked up into a front headlock with a Rockford Lutheran opponent, and the kid threw him. And that was the deciding factor. Sean was dominating him the whole tournament, the whole match, and one move. He put a heavyweight on their back, and they're I was a heavyweight, so I could say this. You're kind of like a beetle. You know, you're stuck on. Takes a lot to move over and to roll over.
In the world of memes on the internet, you don't want to be a beetle.
You don't want to be a beetle.
So if they were going to name a starter for most of the season, it was Sean, right?
Started off with Graham.
Okay.
Sean played football at around 300 pounds and lost 15 over the course of the season to make himself eligible for 285-pound weight class. Wow. And as a function of that, his wrestling has just gotten stronger and stronger. Sean's he's a fighter. Graham has, over the years, just improved tremendously. I remember watching him last year, and it was his first year wrestling. And, you know, like many first-year wrestlers, just lacked a lot of the fundamentals. But you've seen him progress. Graham just won the JV tournament at Naperville Central, has seen some success. And, you know, here you have two seniors going out strong.
Yeah, and I think some people watch it and they're like, oh, well, they're just having fun. I mean, I think this position means something for these guys.
Absolutely.
So Sean gets the pin. They shake hand, and Sean, from what I heard, will represent the team in that division for regionals.
That's correct.
Again, wrestling for the Warriors at 170 pounds to determine who wrestles in the regional tournament this weekend.
So we have the same situation
here. Yeah, here you have Jared Samuelson and Jeremiah Staten. I love both these guys. You know, Jeremiah's his second year, Jared is his first year. Jeremiah started off with no wrestling experience whatsoever, came in as a freshman, had a tough season like most freshmen do who haven't had any varsity experience, any wrestling experience. Stuck with it, fought, started having some challenges. Won his first varsity match, I believe, this year, earlier this year, and then had a breakout at the Kewanee tournament. He ends up taking 5th out of a 16-team tournament, and he won 3 matches in a row that day. We were just so flippin' proud of Jeremiah. Just did a great job. Here you have Jared, first-year wrestler as well, strong athlete. You know, he just passes the eye test of what an athlete looks like. And you know, what you look at in both of these wrestlers is you put a couple of years of experience on them, and you're going to have some good years out of them as they matriculate into their upperclassmen years. Now you purist wrestling fans out there, you know, when you have two guys locked up like this, either you have two individuals who are not sure about their shot, meaning they're not confident about taking a double leg, or they're just so strong that they counter any type of a move like that. And you may see a little bit about that later on play out between Derek and Danny Skold. Now Danny likes to shoot from St. Francis, so it's going to be interesting to see how that match plays out. But if Danny doesn't feel comfortable with a shot against a strong Derek, or if he can't get in deep, then you're going to have a lot of neutral position wrestling, just going back and forth. It looked like two gladiators out there for the first period, and not much happens. Here you got Jared takes a shot, doesn't quite go full deep enough. Jeremiah fending it off, trying to spin around. With 2 seconds left, he gets the takedown.
Okay. So in this situation, I don't know. Do you coach both of these guys, or do you not coach either one and just let them go?
Coaching both of them. Pick no favorites.
Yeah.
I don't even think that he can split up. I don't see Mikey. Well, Mikey's there tying a shoe of another wrestler. Justin's all over it. These guys go at it so often in practice. They know the style of their opponent. Pretty good understanding of what they're going to do. So it's just a opportunity for practice.
If you're just joining us, you didn't catch the earlier part. This is senior day, so we're acknowledging 6 seniors. We'll show you their names again later on. We have this is one of 3 home wrestling meets this year. Coach Swider spent some time thanking the boosters and some donors for these beautiful lights, and then also for this awesome mat. I didn't realize how light these mats are as I saw them lift them up into our storage area above the bleachers. I want to thank my one camera person today, Edward Young, as he's giving you the zoom in look today. If you follow our live streams, we're going to be watching the girls basketball team on Friday night. They are also having their senior night, so that'll be a great opportunity to acknowledge some of those girls that have stuck with the program. With Coach Erin Carwell in her first season for the girls basketball team. This is the Spiritual Life Week at Wheaton Academy. We had a pastor and author, Mike Foster, come in to speak for the first 2 days, and then maybe a name you've heard even more so, Steve Carter, who's been named the head teaching pastor for Willow Creek, South Barrington. He'll be coming in, I think for his 2nd or 3rd year in a row, giving him a chance to speak for another 2 days before we end with a worship chapel. Always a great time for our students to kind of get realigned and refocused. Our teachers acknowledge what's been said in chapel. Normally we have chapel twice a week, so this week we have it 5 times. Oh, it's 4-4 with 1 second left, so this 3rd period will decide things. Now if it's tied after 3, what's the process?
Go through an overtime. We start off the first period in overtime, 1 minute in the neutral position, and it's sudden death. The first takedown wins. If they don't decide it after the first period, they go into period 2 and 3, which are 30 seconds each. And one wrestler is in the down position, one in the up. And then for the 3rd period, they flip, and they determine what the score is after all 3 periods. And it's still tied after that. Then it's sudden death with 1 more 30-second period.
Any point wins.
Any point wins.
So we're in the 3rd period now, 1:43 left. No points awarded there yet, 4-4. Both of these wrestlers wrestling for the opportunity to wrestle in the state tournament regionals on Friday. That was a point awarded to
Jeremiah. He was fended off a cradle attempt from Jared and was able to escape. It's a pretty important point. Jared's now forced with the need, and if he's going to win this match, to take a takedown.
I hear Coach Swider firing him up, trying to get him to think about regionals.
You know, his voice is so dull. Just I mean, I remember for the first time showing up at football practice and hearing him bark out commands. It took me back to my college days because he sounds just like his father. Almost started doing up and downs.
Take a break here as the Head covering came off. 27 seconds left. Jeremiah is the leader right now with 5 points. Hard to tell, I know, since we're both Warriors. So he'll look to hold Jared off. Jared's going to have to take a chance here.
Coaches really like to see what wrestlers do in these circumstances because you really just have to fight, and you got nothing to lose. I mean, you're down 1 point, 10 seconds left. And to Jeremiah's credit, he's not on the defensive. He's taking some shots himself. So he did pretty well. That's what you want to see.
Jeremiah and Sean Bloom both advancing in matches against teammates to play during regionals. And it looks like Coach Swider said take 10 minutes here for St. Francis to warm up. To get rewarm as St. Francis won the first match against St. Joe's. So 10 minutes is on the clock. You recognize that as well. So tune back in here. 8 minutes to go. We'll rejoin you.
Possibilities are endless, but this guy makes it all hard. I mean, he makes it look so easy. That's pretty cool. I know Justin doesn't like the lights, but when the lights are on, I don't think it'll be very bright because it will be dark. And well, you can't see, you know? But like, I think lights, smokes. We need the bike to come down. We need the bike to come down. Yeah. I'm wondering if we add to this
106 at heavyweight. All right, we're climbing up little guys to big guys. Right, call your name, beat the center.
All right, welcome back, everyone. We're gonna turn up this
wrestling match versus St. Francis versus the Wheaton
background
Warriors.
mic so you can hear Coach
106 pounds.
Mike Swider
For St.
announce.
Francis, Calvin Pavante, and for the Warriors, Jonathan Vanderbilt. At 113 pounds, St. Francis wins by forfeit. Aushlin Martin. 120 pounds. Coleman Lacey for St. Francis, Katie Morrison for the Warriors. At 126 pounds for St. Francis, Ben Bugatis for the Warriors, Noah Sakovic. 132 pounds, Vince Tarazio wins by forfeit. 138 pounds for St. Francis, Connor Ridge, and for the Warriors, Jeff Ridge. And 145 pounds for St. Francis, John Andrews Whiskey. I'm sorry if I butchered that name. And wins by forfeit. And 152 pounds, Colin James versus Travis King. 160 pounds, R.J. McGaw versus Connor Scanlon. 170 pounds, Jared Samuelson for the Warriors wins by forfeit. 182 pounds for St. Francis, John Bohassic, and for the Warriors, Jeremiah Staten. 195 pounds for St. Francis, Jesse Gonzalez versus the Warriors, Noah Jones. At 220 pounds for St. Francis, Danny Stoll versus the Warriors, Derek Johannick. And at heavyweight for the Warriors, Sean Bloom wins by forfeit. Sorry, there's Raymond. My apologies. All right, we're beginning at 120 pounds.
All right, so the Warriors and St. Francis in this third match for today. St. Francis used to be a conference opponent, and I think will
be next year.
Once again be. And it's good because this is a good rivalry between these two schools. There's a little something that they bring that I love the fight in these guys.
I was talking to a parent of a St. Francis wrestler and found out that their rebuilding process in their wrestling program began about 9 years ago. So they're about 6 years ahead of Wheaton Academy in rebuilding the wrestling program. So what you're looking at, as I'm just looking at the two teams lined up, you know, they've got about 30% more wrestlers than we do. But it's good to see that level of participation take place at a smaller school. And yeah, I agree with you, Matt. It's good to see them back on the court, on the mat, on the field, going into next year.
Yeah, it's a love-hate. Yeah. They've had our number for a number of years for different things.
So we have Caden Morrison. Caden's a first-year freshman wrestler. And you know, he's going up against a varsity opponent from St. Francis. See, a lot of these matches today are going to be a little bit more challenging than what we faced up against St. Joseph. too much for him.
Yeah. So we know wrestlers have to hit weight. What time of day do they weigh in? Right before the match? Do they give them an hour or two? And do they eat after that? Do they eat before it?
Yeah, it's one of those, it depends answers. It all depends on how much weight you're down by. You know, it's a lot different this day and age than it was when I wrestled. It's a little bit of like the Wild West back when I was wrestling, good 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Now you have this thing called certification. You know, at a certain point in the season, you have to certify at a weight, so you just can't start off the season at a certain weight and kind of make yourself down or take yourself down throughout the season. You got to certify at a point in time, and they do they evaluate things like body, your BMI. They look at your
body mass.
They look at your body fat index, and what they're basically looking for is a situation where a wrestler is taking an extreme measure to cut weight that's at a level that's unhealthy for them. So they're going to they're a lot more involved in this process than ever before. But once you're certified at a weight, you know, wrestling takes place during Thanksgiving and Christmas, and there's a lot of eating that takes place during those days. So you know, you may find a wrestler that enters into a week before a tournament or before a duel where he's 2 or 3 pounds over, and you just monitor it. You weigh in, you keep an eye on it, and you monitor it. They will give you an allowance at this time of the season where they'll give a 2-pound allowance going into regionals, and that helps.
Oh, yeah, I did not realize that he gave you a little grace. That is kind. Yeah, I would think that that's a really smart, of course, they've had years and years to analyze this sport, but to actually understand weight, a certain player, it's unhealthy to get out of 2 weight classes at some point.
Yeah, we've heard the horror stories. There's a lot of stories of that happening in the past. I think this is one area where the improvements have been made substantially to the sport. And a wrestler knows, you know, when he needs to go up a weight class the next year. You know, when he finds that it's too difficult throughout the season to maintain a certain weight, your body changes, a lot of things happen, and a lot smarter these days.
It's 4 seconds left here. We're going to find ourselves 2-0.
Yeah, Noah's a good, strong wrestler. He is. You're just going up against a more established program. You know, St. Francis isn't at the Aurora Christian level. We've had a couple of run-ins with Aurora Christian, and boy, it's almost like overnight that program has just exploded. They brought in a lot of 8th grade wrestlers who come from a very strong club background. They got some key transfers into the program, and they are favored this year to win state.
Wow.
And, you know, 2 years ago they were nothing. So St. Francis had a much slower burn to prominence, and I would even say that they're at that mid-tier wrestling program. It's probably the next step for the Warrior wrestling program to kind of be in where they're at right now.
So I hear their coach talking about literally where to pull the leg or the knee.
Yep.
Is Noah just trying to stay calm here for a moment?
He's just trying to stay on his belly.
Yeah.
You know, he's in a good, strong position. The guy's got his leg in. If you look at that, the St. Francis wrestler has his right leg in, what they call in. And in that type of a position, it's a very neutralizing situation. And what ends up happening, if you don't do anything, what ends up happening is you get called for stalling, which is what the ref indicated right there. You basically have one stall warning, and then after the second one, Noah will be awarded a point for stalling. So if you have the legs in, that's my point, if you have the legs in, you got to show that you're doing something with them. You just can't put them in there and ride your opponent. So you see that he got out of the leg. He's trying to go to work a cradle. Noah's a pretty strong strong wrestler. And boy, if he gets stuck with that arm, he's going to get flipped over. 14 seconds kind of right out this period. And he fought it off.
It looks like Noah gave into the flip and then turned again.
He turned back and then he did the cardinal sin in wrestling, which is reaching over the head of your opponent and reaching back. St. Francis gets awarded 3 near fall points. We have a 7-0 deficit. Coach Swider's telling Noah to go into the neutral position.
Just to get him off the ground?
Yeah, and kind of avoid the situation. You know, if you don't think you have an ability to turn him over from the top position, or you don't have the ability to escape from the bottom position, then your best bet is to go neutral. But Noah's got to take the shot, not the other guy. And that's what we just saw.
Do you know what year Noah is? Is he a freshman?
Noah is a sophomore.
Looks like the clock is trying to get adjusted. They let the clock run afterwards. I didn't know what they're saying. St. Francis coach is fine with that explanation. 9-0. I would say Noah needs to make a move, but he's been held down in a lot of this match.
Yeah, he's kind of running out of options. Experience, maturity, you know, when you're wrestling as an underclassman on varsity, there's a tremendous amount that happens with the body in 2 years. And when you're a freshman or sophomore going up against juniors and seniors, there's a physical mismatch that takes place in while other sports you see it perhaps more on the skill side, in wrestling it's very much so at the physical level.
Now he's got 50 seconds to hold this pin off. Just couldn't pull it off. Good fight. Coach Mikey Swider gave him a hand. So, do you know, does Coach Justin Swider take a certain group of guys and Mikey another set, or do you think they just coach them all together?
Yeah, they coach them all together. And you know, Mikey was a heavyweight wrestler himself in college and in high school. So he knows a lot of strategy with the upper weight classes.
Yeah.
That it's been a benefit. I know that Derek has just benefited tremendously from Mikey's involvement. So each coach always has a strengths that they bring to the table, and Mikey brings that especially. It's invaluable to have that experience and understand the strategy. There's a game within every game. And there's a game within the wrestling match that a lot of people don't see, nuances and strategy and everything from technique, positioning to strategy to what you do with your hand fighting, with your feet. You know, I'm noticing a trend. There's often a signature of a wrestling team based upon how their coach coaches them. And I'm noticing that in these first 3 matches that we've watched with St. Francis, every single wrestler has shot or made a shot. A double leg. They're